We have with us Nadjia Yousif, BCG's Chief Diversity Officer, Managing Partner. Hi, Nadjia.
Hello, I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Nadjia, my first question to you would be, there are enough reports and numbers that talk about the business case for diversity, equity and inclusion. What do you think, where are the hiccups that companies face in implementing policies and initiatives on DEI?
Well, firstly, I think it's a great point to start our discussion, because when you think about why organizations should be even thinking about DE&I, it's not just a moral imperative. I think the thing that is becoming more and more obvious is there's business value. And as you say, there's now statistics around, increased profit, increased innovation, increased customer engagement. I think the thing that's hindering at the moment is two things. So one, it's that organizations are doing these activities in silos. So perhaps one team the marketing team is deciding to create a campaign which is celebrating diversity or encouraging a different type of customer segment to understand the products and services, but it's not fully baked into the overall organization's ethos, their values, their strategy. And that's, I think, one reason. And then the other reason is that it's not enough to have diverse teams. You need to get the best out of them. And we talk a lot around the importance of the I of DEI, the inclusion element. And what does that mean? It means that you are creating a work environment where anybody can speak up, can have a voice, can feel like they belong. And creating that environment takes leaders being vocal about the importance of DEI. It takes clear policies and clear consequences for bad behavior. And it creates an importance for people to be honest and vocal when they are seeing issues or not. And if you don't have an organization that has an inclusive work environment, all of our research suggests that you won't be getting those benefits that we talked about before, because actually, the underrepresented groups who have then taken the step to join your organization will leave, or they will quietly quit. You've heard that term before. And I think that there's a real importance on, firstly, as I said, making sure that DEI is looked at holistically in your organization's strategy. So when it comes to saying that your ambition for the next 5 years includes certain business outcomes, that it includes the DEI lens. And then secondly, that you really do focus on building an inclusive culture.
Artificial intelligence has kind of disrupted the world in ways that we didn't see in the last couple of decades. How do you think that is going to shape DEI initiatives in the future? Will it widen the gap given the inherent biases within data, or is it going to close some of those gaps? Is it going to create artificial inclusion, or is it going to be...
So I'm hopeful that the fact that we talk about responsible AI so much, that we will be approaching any new product, service, model, algorithm with eyes wide open to exactly the point that you're raising. We heard here at GBS, this Chief Strategy Officer of OpenAI talking about the importance of responsible development in not only the sort of design phase of any new upgrade, in their case of, say, ChatGPT, but also in the ongoing evolution, testing and learning and continuously assessing how this new tool, which might do something like help you be able to look at who you might be recruiting in a much wider way, because you can now use CV screening, tools to automatically tell you, oh, look at this candidate, look at that, or screen LinkedIn profiles. If we use those tools, that's on the one hand great, because we're probably opening up the pool of applicants to any given organization, but also indeed has the possibility to, through the reinforcing models, continuously highlight certain types of people and not others. By continuously testing the outcomes, testing along the way, what are we seeing that the algorithms do before implementing it? So kind of doing parallel testing and the use cases essentially being done, testing environment, you will be able to see. So I'm hopeful that it will be more of a real inclusion tool rather than artificial inclusion. And I also think that it is a call to action for those organizations who have that focus for their strategic agenda to look at who's doing the development and what are the checks and balances they can put in place. We like to sometimes say adopt diversity, sitting at the table and saying, wait, what could be the adverse outcomes here? What could be the unintended consequences? And also, when you actually are using the data or using the insights that AI is providing, that you again have a human in the loop who's playing just that, that devil's advocate and saying, well, what if, all the inputs to this were actually a very homogenous group? Is that still the way that we should interpret this data? And so on and so forth. So actually thinking about the human checks and balances we can continue to apply to this amazing asset that we now have at our disposal, I think is the way forward.
Now, they would talk a lot about the role of technology in DEI.
Mm-hmm.
But in the last few years, what we have seen, especially the last year, that there has been, within the tech sector, there has been sort of a DEI backlash where funds have been cut for such initiatives, and people are talking about that DEI is another form of exclusion because certain communities are focused more. So within tech and DEI, how do you see DEI playing in the tech sector?
So unfortunately, it's not only the tech sector, I would say, that has been facing some of that criticism. Firstly, I want to say that I find it very unfortunate that all of the great work that the DEI, agenda focuses on is getting politicized. And I genuinely think that that's unfortunate because it is creating a division around, frankly, something that I think benefits everyone. What do I think is the likely way to talk about this issue, because it has become now in the media with prominent people speaking out, I think is that firstly, let's remind that at the end of the day, we're talking about creating inclusive work environments which benefits everyone. We've done studies recently around what is the impact of creating an inclusive work environment, and in particular, creating psychologically safe work environments. And by the way, in the tech sector, I think there's a heritage, unfortunately, especially when you look at sort of Silicon Valley organizations of toxic work environments. What does a psychologically safe work environment get you? It gets you more motivated staff, and it also allows you to retain the most ambitious people in your organization, no matter what background they are. So creating that work environment that is inclusive actually is going to be win-win for everyone. It's not just for minority groups. It's not just for the groups that you could say are often in the limelight when we talk about DEI initiatives. And then the other thing that I think is going to come out of this discussion is that actually we really shouldn't be emphasizing, which unfortunately we often have in the past, quotas. And the focus on representation numbers being, at the end of the day, focused for any organization, I think is a mistake. I think at the end of the day, what we should be focusing on are what are the leading indicators that you are creating a place where diverse talent wants to come? What are the leading indicators that suggest that you are creating an inclusive work environment? Those are the metrics that actually you should be shouting about rather than quotas. It is important that we look at our overall representation of, say, women, of, say, certain ethnic minorities, to understand, are we making progress? But it actually can drive unintended bad behaviors if you are solely focused on numbers in terms of representation or quotas. So I do think that hopefully this current climate around the backlash of DEI will, one, focus attention more on inclusion, and two, make us realize and continue to emphasize the business value of having diverse teams and the fact that creating an inclusive work environment helps everybody.
Nadjia, I just want to ask you quickly, if you were to put your leadership style in three words, in three key words, what would those be?
Authenticity, boldness, continuous learning.
Thank you.
That was 4 words, sorry.
Thank you so much, Nadjia.
Thank you.